So we've been talking about oil, coal, natural gas. And when we talk about all of those, we talked about some of the pros and cons of them. So take a second, think about coal. What are some of the negative impacts of coal? We said coal is really dirty, so it provides a lot of air pollution, which is not the best. We know mercury, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, all come from coal. So coal is really dirty. And then we think about oil. What are some disadvantages about oil? So when we look at oil, it also causes a significant amount of air pollution, right? And all of these are fossil fuels, so they're all releasing CO2 to some extent as well, because remember, they're made from fossilized organisms, and organisms have carbon in them, so they're going to be releasing CO2. Then we talked about natural gas. We said that natural gas releases methane. So in addition to releasing some CO2, it releases methane, which is a greenhouse gas that's more potent or stronger than carbon dioxide. It has more of a warming potential. We also said that natural gas, even though it's considered cleaner, it's not actually clean when we think about how we end up drilling for it or digging for it. So we use fracking to find natural gas. Remember, natural gas, I'll go back to the picture that we had. It's found, if we can just look at this one, it's found deep within the earth, and we have to drill in there and create these cracks. And in the process, a lot of times we can end up with contaminated drinking water. So those are some of the issues with fracking. Today we're going to talk about oil sands or tar sands. This is kind of a new thing that's kind of come on the horizon in the last, we'll say about 20 years. So what happens is, as we run out of oil that's really easily accessible, we've started looking for it other places, and we can actually find it mixed in with some soil. So oil sands or tar sands are a mixture of clay, sand, water, and then bitumen, which is really thick oil. So it's just oil, but it's mixed with clay and sand and other stuff. Normally when we find or drill oil, it's like a big pool of oil that we can just suck up. This is mixed in with water and sand. It's found in Canada. And instead of just, sucking it up from the ground, we've got to use big backhoes and big shovels and equipment to scoop it up. And then we got to wash out all of this extra clay and sand because we don't want dirt in the oil. So it takes an extra step to go ahead and rinse it and clean it. So it's mixed with hot water and steam, and then they extract that oil. Okay, remember we talked about subbituminous as one of the stages of coal formation. This here, we're extracting the bitumen. So it's the same kind of idea here, same word, but this is just referring to oil that's got a lot of sulfur in it. So it costs a lot more because the equipment that we have to use and the energy that we have to use to do it is a lot more extensive. Oil in the Middle East is only $1 to $2 for a barrel, and this cost is $13 for a barrel. So it's significantly more expensive. Why are we doing it? Well, we're doing it because we're running out of oil. Remember we said that oil could run out within the next 50 years? Well, this is one of the reasons that we're working on finding more oil. If oil's going to run out, we need to find more resources or more places where we can drill for it so we have it for our needs. Either that or we need to switch to renewable energy. So this is just a picture down below showing you how they drill for this. So they've got a bunch of these backhoes. They're able to actually extract it using steam and some pipes, but they also use just a bunch of shovels and backhoes as well, depending on where it is. I am going to show you a little video. It's only 2 minutes. And I want you to keep in mind, what are some of the disadvantages? Keep in mind the disadvantages. If you hear any, write them down on your sheet underneath the tar sands or oil sands section.
Oil companies want to build pipelines across America to carry tar sand crude from Canada to our coasts. These proposed pipelines won't bring oil to America, they'd bring oil through America. The asphalt-like tar sands are mined from Canada's northern boreal forest. Oil companies have to heat the tar sands with toxic additives, generating massive greenhouse gas pollution and dumping cancer-causing chemicals into the air and water. Tar sands is the dirtiest oil on Earth. The heavy tar sands crude is pumped at extreme pressures and temperatures. On top of that, sand and chemicals in the mixture corrode steel. An existing U.S. tar sands pipeline spilled 12 times in its first 12 months of operation. That's a spill a month. Spills pollute waterways and critical underground aquifers, and can put crops and the drinking water for millions of Americans at risk. Oil companies use legal intimidation to force dangerous pipelines on landowners who don't want them. The Canadian tar sands crude is destined for U.S. coastal refineries, releasing more cancer-causing chemicals. The fuel would be largely exported overseas. Americans take on all the risks, while oil companies collect all the rewards. Huge profits that big oil uses to buy more influence in Washington, D.C. Moving America beyond oil isn't that difficult. With smart transportation choices, including vehicles powered by clean, advanced technology, we can achieve real energy independence, long-term national security, and create jobs. We need to draw the line at tar sands. The world's dirtiest oil isn't welcome here.
So that was just showing you kind of a demonstration. Obviously, this is put on by the Sierra Club, so this is a company that does not want the pipeline to happen. I'm going to show you really quick. This is the Keystone Pipeline. You may have heard something about it in the news. So you'll notice they created this pipeline here. This was in 2010, then 2011, then 2012, 2016. Oh, sorry, 2010 was over here as well. The one that they're talking about in the news lately is this green one over here. I'm going to highlight in yellow. This is the Keystone XL Pipeline. So it's the newest proposed pipeline. There have been a lot of people who are against this pipeline. When President Obama was in office, he actually basically said, no, we can't build this pipeline. So it didn't get built. When President Trump got in office, he actually allowed this pipeline to get built. And so now it's being built. So there are a lot of economic benefits, right? You can get jobs, you can get more oil, but there's also a lot of environmental impacts, negative environmental impacts. So we're just gonna watch one more 2-minute video clip that talks about what is the Keystone XL Pipeline. It doesn't have actually any sound on it or any words, so you just have to read it. But I think it's a good experience. So they're actually, the Keystone XL Pipeline was in the news today. They're looking to start breaking ground. They have not started constructing this green part yet, but they're hoping to start constructing it in the next month or so. Begin construction. It won't be done until 2023 is what they're expecting. So you'll probably hear more about that in the news. So we just watched that. So some of the disadvantages that you probably wrote down: contamination of water, leaks in the pipes, uses lots of energy to extract, and then scarring of the land. So if you take a look, this is like the tar sands, a picture. Notice it, like this land can't be used for anything. That's why we call it scarred. It pretty much destroys the landscape there, and whatever was there is no longer growing. So you've got to take 2 tons of oil sand to create 1 barrel of oil, and then you've got all that leftover sand. What are you going to do with it? So it scars the land, obviously destroys habitats, displaces people, contaminates water, all of those things. So the last thing, it's kind of just random, but I tagged it on here. Running out of resources. We know we're running out of fossil fuels because they are a non-renewable resource. So peak oil, some people talk about peak oil. It's the point where half of the petroleum, this is oil, reserves will have been used up. And this is showing us all of the different sources of oil that we have, whether they come from deep down in the water, like the yellow one, regular oil, conventional, from polar, from up north. So all these different places, when are we going to reach used up half of our oil? And if we take a look, it's actually predicted to be at 2011, meaning we already passed it. We already passed the point where we've used up more than half of our oil, and it's only expected to decline after this. So when they talk about peak oil, they talk about it as an indicator of the fact that we're running out of these non-renewable resources.